we'll just get started here to get this thing on the road. First of all, just what was it like to go through the portal process and decide in Minnesota? What brought you to the Gophers?
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly a crazy month or two being in the portal, just getting contacted by coaches. It's kind of my dream. So in that sense, it was nice, but definitely can be overwhelming at times. And so it's kind of just trying to navigate who's being really like open and honest and straight up about their situation, what they have going on at school. And college basketball is a crazy climate right now. So just being patient and kind of seeing where things settle. And that's kind of when Minnesota came into play once all the craziness started happening. And they kind of were just needing some spots to fill. And they thought I fit that one of the roles that they needed. And that was great. And yeah, after that, I got on campus and I was able to meet a lot of people involved with the program. And just can't speak highly enough about my interactions while I was there. And so when you meet people like that, it really makes you follow your gut and makes you feel good about using your instincts. And so I think in that sense, it was pretty easy at the end of the day.
You talk a little bit about the portal experience. I mean, just how crazy is it just from a standpoint of when you put your name in, like how soon were schools contacting you? How did you decide to narrow down where you were going to visit or how many schools you were going to talk to? Like, just take me through that whole process.
Yeah, for me personally, I got to enter the portal a little early because I'm both D3 and a graduate transfer student. So I was in the portal before March Madness started for the D1 schools. So in that sense, I was kind of the only guy. And I mean, even within 24 hours, I probably had 7 schools reach out. And so that first week was really tough. And thanks to my dad, he was really helping me stay organized with that process and just he was just super helpful getting back to everybody and making sure I didn't miss any opportunities. Then after that, it's really just keeping in touch and seeing which programs continue to reach out on a regular basis. And then on my end, I was just watching a lot of games about the teams that were interested in me, just trying to figure out what kind of system they run offensively, what kind of positions they might be looking for next year. And at that point, it's just kind of seeing if schedules line up, right? I was able to take one official visit before March Madness, which was nice. And then schools got a lot more busy during the end of the season. And then so I was just staying in contact with a lot of schools during that point in time. And then post-season, that's when I kind of was able to start thinking about scheduling more visits. But eventually I just kind of took one to Minnesota in around, I think, mid-April. And I think I committed on like May 1st. And so there wasn't much other visits on my mind after that.
Who were maybe some of the other schools that were like, somewhat seriously interested in you aside from Minnesota that you had to sort of sift through?
Yeah, I think I took an official visit to UC Davis. And then I think near the end, I was kind of balancing the academic side of things as well, going to the next level and kind of utilizing a scholarship to get a master's degree. And so I was trying to communicate with schools like Rice in Texas. And I was honestly going to reach out to more schools as well, just because with the coaching staffs changing so much, even in March, it was kind of hard because you might be recruited by some assistant coach and you're trying to get in contact with the head coach, and then they leave and they have to go to a different program, and then kind of throws everything under the rug. So it was just kind of figuring out from there where guys were headed and staying in touch.
Well, I mean, you've had at least one experience in the barn, and I think that's what everybody sort of knows you for. I mean, that 41-point night in an exhibition game was something else. Just what do you remember from that night, and what did that tell you about, or how did your confidence maybe grow from that to know that, hey, if I put up 41 against the Gophers, I can play at this level?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely big. I'd been at a couple games at the barn just throughout my career at Macalester as a fan, and so I'd been there before, and it was just a great opportunity to play. Shout out to Coach Johnston and the rest of the team, the Gophers, for taking the opportunity or giving us the opportunity to play them. That was huge for us. But yeah, I always knew I had like the offensive skill set to have a role at that level, and I was blessed to have the opportunity, and I played well, obviously, and shots were going in. But yeah, it does help your confidence. I think one thing in basketball is if you've prepared enough and you get an opportunity, that's when good things happen. And confidence comes from that preparation and knowing that you've put in the work and the time to kind of take advantage of your situation. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. Definitely a lot of big steps to take in order to be able to perform at that level, both defensively, just from a conditioning standpoint. But it definitely gives me confidence that I have something to work towards, that it's not just a dead end road. So in that sense, it's great.
Is that just one of those nights that you just kind of take with you the rest of your life? Like, man, I just put up 41 in the D1 arena. How cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my teammates know that if those first couple go in, it's going to be pretty hard to stop me. So when I saw those first like 3 or 4 shots go in, I was like, whew, this could be a good night. And then the rest is history. But yeah, it was definitely a surreal feeling walking out of there, saying hi to my parents after the game, knowing what had just happened. And yeah, I mean, just from Twitter to Instagram, it was pretty crazy. But eventually that becomes kind of the new normal, and you kind of adjust.
Right.
And that's just kind of where we're at now. I've been eased into things as far as the spotlight, as far as that goes. And so in that sense, I feel like I'm prepared to kind of take that next step where everything's scrutinized a little more. There are a lot more fans, and so, but it's just great because a lot more people care. But there's definitely a mental side to that.
When you took your visit to campus, what was sort of Coach Johnston's selling point, or I don't know if you even had to make one, and maybe you just felt right at home when you were, in the arena, doing your thing. But what was sort of the selling point, and maybe what do they expect your role to be there? I mean, I know as a competitor, you want to start and play 40 minutes if you can, but what are the kind of the goals that they have for you?
Yeah, I mean, on campus, I touched on it a little bit, but I just feel like everybody was great. And Coach Johnston specifically, he was really straight up and down to earth and honest about their situation and what they were trying to do. And I just think that puts the team in the best position to win. And that's kind of what drew me in. At the time of the visit, we had thought Elijah was staying, and we also weren't super sure about Cam. And so it's kind of a different situation than where we're at now. I think the opportunity to compete for minutes is a little bit more in my favor now that those positions need to be refilled. But yeah, his not selling point, but his kind of I guess goal or theme of the conversation was that, yeah, you're gonna have to come in and work really hard, and at the end of the day, we want you to be somebody that contributes to the team in whatever way that is. And with the money that's flying around with NIL these days, it's kind of hard to fill those spots where you just really need guys to buy in and to fill out a roster. And so I think in that sense, I'm really just here to kind of provide whatever they need at that time, whether that's shooting, like strictly shooting, whether that's somebody that needs to handle the ball against pressure, whether that's a veteran presence every day. Anything that they really need that's kind of what I'm going for. And we'll know more after summer camp and going into the future. So
What was the moment like when you committed to Coach? Was it, in a meeting in his office? Was it over the phone? And just what was that whole conversation like?
yeah, I ended up just calling. And it's just like after a few months in the portal and kind of a lot of unknowns and honestly calling a lot of people, being on the phone a lot, it's both a weight off your shoulders and also just really exciting at the same time. And so once that conversation was had, it was really just kind of a mixture of excitement, confidence, eagerness to just get ready and start working, honestly. And so that's why this last month where I'm in school here at Macalester it's been fun, but you're really just ready to kind of get to that next step. And so, yeah, it's a great feeling for sure.
Have you had a chance to talk to some of the guys that are coming back that are going to be your teammates next year?
Yeah, I met a couple briefly on the visit, and then I've been able to text a couple over the phone. I mean, Parker Fox is a great role model, especially for somebody that's gone through the transfer portal, especially from a different level. And then just from a leadership standpoint, I really think he's a special guy and somebody that's really valuable to the program. And then as we kind of continue to fill out the roster, I know we've had a few more commits, or one commit right before me and one commit kind of the same day. And so I think as we continue to build the team, that'll give us an opportunity to kind of get in touch and meet with each other. And so I look forward to that. But yeah, that will really start now that school's over. I think they're nearing the end of school too. And so that's kind of, again, one of the next steps.
What do you make of the transition from Division III to Division I? I think a lot of people seem to think it's like a huge leap. I personally think if you have the talent, it doesn't really matter what level you're at. You're gonna be seen. I know like St. Thomas made that transition to D1 a few years ago, and a lot of those kids were on the D3 team. And you see like Raheem Anthony, he's one of their best players, and he was a D3 kid. What do you make of that transition, and what is it going to take to up the ante in terms of the compete for what it takes to be a Big Ten player?
Yeah, I definitely think skill set is something that's found across the board, and I think I'll have the ability to continue to refine that and work with the coaching staff and just continue to get better. But in that sense, I think there are a lot of people out there that may be capable of making this jump, including me. And I think the biggest jump or the biggest difference is probably the physicality and the speed and the conditioning of the game. That's something that's going to be definitely a change of pace and something I'll adjust to. But I've been really fortunate to, as you said, we have St. Thomas as a role model. They've shown that it can be done, and they're having great success in the Summit League. Raheem transferring from St. Mary's to St. Thomas and being really successful there. A few years ago, we actually had Joe Palmer play at Augsburg, and then he transferred up to Colorado State, where he had like a six-man role this year. And so, yeah, I've had a lot of great role models that have shown it's possible. And I just think that with the resources that comes with being at a higher level, that some special things can happen and that I can change both my body and just mind and put it in a place where I can compete at that level. So, yeah, it's definitely big in some ways and small in other ways. And so I think that's kind of the balancing act of trying to make this jump.
Or maybe the casual fan that isn't a diehard follower of the Gophers, what are they getting in a Caleb Williams? I mean, obviously we know about your scoring, but just what kind of overall game do you bring to this team?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously always the first point people bring up is my scoring. I consider myself kind of at the D3 level, at least, I was always a tough shot maker. So grenades at the end of the shot clock, just things like that. Near the end of my career, I was seeing more doubles and stuff. And so I've been trying to become better at facilitating and passing. But at the end of the day, the Gophers are getting a really good shooter, regardless of what my stats say. I think with a smaller role, I'll be a really deadly spot-up shooter, somebody that can handle the ball and pass. That's what everybody has to be able to do at the next level. But honestly, I'm just competitive, and I think I'm a lot more athletic than people anticipate. And so really being able to be that defender that people like to watch and even are impressed by, I think is something that I'm hoping to be able to do. And so, yeah, just a scrappy guard that's going to do whatever it takes to help the team win.
So what does your summer entail before the team gets together on campus for summer workouts?
Yeah, so we just finished up finals week here, so I'll graduate this Saturday from Macalester. Then after that, just continuing to work out on campus. I'll have to go home. I'll get to go home to see my siblings graduate high school and throw a little graduation party for them, and then I'll be back. And then it's just a process of moving out of my house right now and then figuring out the next steps for the summer session. And, yeah, it should be fun. That'll be our only focus, and so I'm excited to have that opportunity, which we haven't really had. It's not really a D3 thing to be able to work with the team in the summer, so it'll be a nice new flavor.
What are you getting your degree in?
At Macalester, I have I'm double majoring in mathematics and physics, and then I'm still kind of working through what school's going to look like next year at Minnesota. Hopefully, something that can utilize my background in math, and then set me up for the future as well. But yeah, it's been a rough academic journey. I've always been busy with homework and stuff, so it'll definitely be nice to have a summer of workouts and no more homework for a while.
Well, I can say that being at St. Thomas, that school at Macalester is no joke. I mean, you actually have to try college, right?
Yeah.
What is your future when the basketball side of it is over? I'm sure you have aspirations to maybe play overseas or pursue some sort of professional career if it works out right. When it's not basketball, what's the next step for you?
Yeah, I think this next year of school and trying to get a master's degree will really help me decide. It's both a good thing and a bad thing to have a lot of options, right? I think with my degrees, they're pretty broad, and I have the opportunity to go into like engineering or further into academia, maybe become a professor. But then with a master's degree and maybe some business math type of thing, maybe that opens up opportunities in kind of the corporate world as far as like finance or just business analytics and stuff like that. And so it's one thing I wish I had a better idea, but it's wide open right now. So we'll see.
Well, you're young. You got time yet. I guess lastly, you sort of touched on it a little bit, the situation of the team a little bit unsettled with NIL and all that. You come from a little bit different situation. D3, I don't know that there really is a ton of opportunity there. I mean, I'm sure there is if you do enough promotion of yourself, which is, sometimes hard for athletes to do. But what has your experience been like with NIL so far? Because you want to make money off yourself if you can. Obviously, every college kid does, and every college kid that has the chance should. But how do you balance that with, prioritizing the team and what the team needs to do to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? That's something that's only been this past 3 years or so. I can't remember how long ago, maybe 2 years, that people have really had to kind of balance trying to make money for your future. This may be the most you're making playing basketball for a few years, even if you go overseas. And so that's kind of a difficult situation. I think for me, NIL wasn't one of the biggest priorities just because I knew fit was kind of more important. Some smaller schools may have had some money to offer, but I think from somebody, there's obviously collectives and stuff, but I think growing your just media presence and kind of getting your own fan base is kind of what a lot of the smaller guys are trying to do. Even at the D3 level, if you manage to get people to kind of buy into you and your career and your story, you have the opportunity to kind of be an influencer in some ways. And so in that sense, I'm trying to think, even Parker Fox is a great guy, a great example of that, who is a great story. He's battled adversity for a long time, has found a way to really be a person that people root for. And so that's kind of the biggest thing is if you can get people on your side, then maybe that's an opportunity in the future for sure.
Great. Well, I think unless you have anything else you want to add, or if there's anything I forgot or didn't mention, I think I'm good.
No, that was great. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything I didn't touch on. I think you did a great job of kind of guiding me. I know I kind of ramble sometimes, but
no, you're good.
Yeah, it was great.
I prefer that over the 6-word answers because with that you just never know. But usually the more mature college kids are better. But it's so tough with the situation with this team because, like you said, Elijah was in, and then he's out, and then.
Yeah.
I know Cam entered the draft, and it sounds like he's either going to stay and do the G League or he entered the portal on the last day. And it's like, I do not envy Ben right now because it's like you don't know day to day who's in and who's out until the last day of the portal. I mean, that's just got to be so frustrating as a coach, especially when, as you mentioned, other teams come in and say, "Oh, how about $200,000 for this kid?" Whatever it might be. Is that kind of your side of it too, from what Ben has been saying?
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a hard job, and college basketball has changed. I'm not sure if it'll change again in the coming years to kind of adjust, but it's definitely a different sport. But they do have experience with that. I mean, especially just being head coaches, they've had experience bringing people together, finding ways to get guys from all different backgrounds to really buy into the same goal. And so I'm confident that with some time together, some team activities, that we can build that camaraderie and just really be a team and really do it for each other. And but I think, I think they're building something special there, and that's kind of why I wanted in. And I just have a passion about playing for Minnesota. And I think in that sense, I'll do everything I can to kind of keep that culture.